Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Truth. Where today we'll be covering the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is a team who signed a decent amount of people. They've signed some pretty impactful players. For them, Nelson Aguilar, a returning piece, is nice, but also they signed Derrick Henry at running back. That's going to be really interesting to see. Um, some guys they've also signed: Justin Matabike, Malik Harris, Brent Urban, Ardarius Washington, and more. So this is a team who's been semi-active. They haven't made crazy signings, but they've gotten guys. Um, Getting into it, since I do have cap, I will be doing a pre what else they could do free agency mock draft. So like I usually do with my mock drafts, I look at all the starters that they need, and then I go, okay, what, how's the board fall? What is the best available player for a need? And this one just had to be Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas, 6'2", 205, super athletic. He's quick. He has nice route running. He's a really good route runner. He's just really hard to defend. I think this will be a nice addition, especially because you're losing Odell. I think this would be a nice addition to kind of start filling some of that. With the second pick, I chose Leonard Taylor to kind of be that big space eater for the defense. I think that would be a nice addition. And then I chose guard Dominic Pooney out of the third round, guard out of Kansas. I think this is a guy who can be one of the starters that they need at guard. Pooney is 6'5", 313, big guy, mover of men. He's going to help in the run game. Kind of some things I do want to acknowledge. If I've talked about a guy consistently, I'll probably just mention him. If I haven't talked about a guy, I'll talk about him. Just heads up. So, for instance, I haven't talked about Jalen Hunt. Obviously, I don't think so. Edge out of Houston Christian, 6'3", 252, RS score above 9. This guy's going to play outside linebacker for them. He's going to play a more typical outside linebacker, meaning he's going to be on the line almost always. Yes, ideally you could drop him back into coverage. You could use him like that TJ Watt style. But majority of the time, he is going to be an edge rusher. I do know that Jadeveon Clowney and the Ravens have mutual interest, but also the Jets have interest in Jadeveon Clowney as well. So we'll see what happens there. Layden Robinson, a guy who I've mentioned before previously on this channel, 6'3", 302, guard out of Texas A&M. He's going to be that other guard for you to kind of fill up that hole. And then Garrett Greenfield is going to be a tackle for you since they did trade away their tackle to the Jets. He's going to be that tackle for you out of South Dakota State. And Garrett Greenfield's a big man, 6'5", 311, RS score of 8.36. Now kind of getting into the depth. I want Jalen Stanley, safety out of Southern Miss. Stanley's he's not bad. It's not bad. It's just at this point he's just gonna be depth for you. And that's what you're kind of looking for. I want Arian Smith, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. This guy I've mentioned before. He can play running back. He can play receiver. He adds a nice versatility to that offense. And then a guy who I haven't talked about at pick 250, wide receiver out of Illinois to finish up this mock draft, Isaiah Williams. Isaiah's shorter, but he's going to be more of that blocking receiver for you. 5'9", 182, a little bit more stocky. RS score 5.68. He's going to be that blocking receiver for you. Every team really needs a good blocking receiver, and this is the guy who's going to try to fill that hole for them. What I'm saying, the one thing I am saying, though, is that I wasn't able to sign everybody because they still needed a backup center. So that's the one thing. Let me start this. Let's see if this works. Hopefully the internet's working. I've been having issues the past couple of days, so fingers crossed. and it's not. So I will get back to y'all in a really, really quick minute. And we're back. Okay. Getting into this. 14 million. They have 14 million, a little over, just a tad bit over in cap space. So there are some things we could go look at. Go look at some free agents. Like I mentioned before, outside linebacker, Jadeveon Clowney. It's always a possibility. You go to positions, guard's a big one for them. That'd be nice to at least get one of them to help fill up that spot. The offensive line is pretty big for them this year. Lincoln Tomlinson's still on the board. Andreas Pete is also still on the board. I don't necessarily think these guys are going to be that expensive. I expect somewhere between $3 to $5 million each. I mean, if you were to get both of those guys, you would have to draft a guard, and you could focus more on tackle moving up your board. Because it's not really a tackle you're going to get that you're going to like, to be honest. But Lincoln Tomlinson and Andres P are both serviceable. I think they're in a pretty good spot with a receiver, just because I think that they can always. This is a really good edge and receiver group, so I don't really want to touch that too much yet. Nose tackle is the only thing that's kind of thrown in here and kind of play with. If you took a peek at the nose tackles, let's just take a peek real quick. Defensive tackles, looking for nose tackles. Al Woods would be a good fit. There's not a lot of guys anymore just because so many have left. Yeah, I mean, I could really think of Al Woods, but Al Woods 36. I don't think they want that. I think guard might be a smart spot here. Worst comes to shove, you spend $10 million on 2 guards. I mean, that would be that bad. And that's the worst case, is that they're $10 million. They could be cheaper. But I mean, that brings you down to $14,161,781. And then they could be cheaper, and then you maybe you do sign Jadeveon Clowney to a cheap year this year, and for a couple more years later down the road, maybe like a 2-3 year deal, and kind of backload it a little bit. So kind of getting into the draft now, doing a live mock draft. Let's see what we can do. Chop Robinson would not be a bad addition to this team. That'd be interesting to see. Still need a tackle. Kind of viewing the tackles on the board. Kingsley Samatatia. Man, that's tough. Do you go Kingsley or do you go Chop? Because, I mean, take Kingsley, you don't have to worry about outside linebacker for a while. Or, I mean, you take Chop, you don't have to worry about outside linebacker for a while. But you do need tackle. I guess I'll go Chop's best player for the needs you have available. Go Chop to be the outside linebacker. Leonard Taylor's still available. I think this is still a good pick, just because he's big. He's gonna be that space eater for you. And don't need a guard, thankfully. Offensive tackle of Washington, super athletic, 6'5". I mean, this is a guy who's gonna need some work. Offensive tackle of Washington, but I mean, it's not gonna be bad. The one thing is you will be able to run the ball. It's just pass protection you're kind of worried about. So, I mean, yeah, I guess. And then this could be a team who trades back if they don't add anybody else. Receiver is kind of their only need that they have left. Jamarian Thrash. This is a guy who he's a good route runner, and he can create separation. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Smart guy. He's aware. This is a guy who ideally you'd have for depth. He'd be a really good depth, but I guess in this case, if they need it, Jamarian Thrash wouldn't be a bad pickup. This is a guy who just needs to work on himself. He doesn't have the speed, but I mean, if he could become an elite route runner, he could be really good for you. It's just he still needs to work. Getting into the backups, they still need 2 backup receivers, a center, and a safety. So, I mean, Jaden Hicks, 6'2", 211. He's a really good athlete. He's quick. He can blitz. He's a little too aggressive, trying to like jump balls and stuff in coverage, which can kind of put him in bad spots. But he isn't a very instinctive physical player. So I mean, and he's more of a man coverage downhill safety, but he can work in zone. I think this is a good pickup for them. Getting back into it, they need receiver, which I mean Jalen Cocker and Jaquan Jackson, and then they also need a backup center in Hunter Norstad. I think I'm gonna go Hunter Norstad. Guy I've talked about 6'3", 317. And get that pickup. Jordan Whittington, 6 foot, more of a slot receiver, stocky slot receiver with nice athleticism and a good catch. He's good at finding holes and stuff. This is a good backup for you. This would be a really good backup for you. And then, dang, the guy I wanted, Arian Smith, fell off the board. Very versatile. Latrida Griffin, Anthony Gold. Gold won't be bad because I like Gold. I think he's going to go a little bit higher just because Anthony Gold, he provides special team return ability. I feel like some teams are going to value that pretty high. And then they end up having an extra pick. So this could be a team who, if they were to sign 2 or more players, they could pick up, or they could trade up in the draft, or they could pick up a player for future as depth. Other than that, tell me what y'all think. What do you think about how the draft's falling for the Ravens? Do you like it? Do you disagree? Do you agree? Do you think Jadeveon Clowney is going to come back to them? Do you think that they're going to get a guard? Do you think they're going to get a couple guards, maybe 2 guards for cheap? I don't know. Tell me what y'all think. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to y'all next time.